So today I have an almost full face of Surratt. So this is all I have in my little Surratt collection. I've only just started to build it, but I do have some of their new releases and I do have some of the most popular products here. So I would love to show you how these look on my mature skin and why I am starting to really love this brand. And before I start, if you're new here, hi, my name's Hannah, I'm 47, I'm not a professional, I'm just somebody who really enjoys makeup and everything to do with beauty. And here on my channel, I like to share with you looks, product news, anything really I think might interest you. So if you think that's something you'd enjoy, I would appreciate it so much if you liked and subscribe below and hit the notification bell so you don't miss my next video. And also if you just comment below, because that really does help my videos to get seen on YouTube. And also my skin, I think it might be helpful to know that I'm fair to light neutral with combination skin. I am mostly dry, but I am starting to get quite an oily T-zone. So that's my skin type, if that helps you. So before I start, in my constant quest to get the lighting and background right, which I've changed about 100 times since I've started this, I have been thinking my background is just too dark, no matter how many little lights I put in and all sorts. So I've bought a super duper light to give that brightness behind me, but it does have a fan. So I don't know if you can now hear that fan. I'm going to be using that light all day, but just to show you the difference, if I turn this new light off, I'll just show you what my background looks like. That's the difference. Now it might be bringing my face forward a little, which is helpful, but I think it's just a bit too gloomy and dark in the background. So I'd love to know what you think, with light, without light. I think it's probably better with, but I am going to get this fan noise, so always something. So there we have the lights back on. But anyway, as always, I would really appreciate any feedback from all of you because it's really helpful. Anyway, let's get on with this video. So I only heard about Surratt last year for the first time, in all honesty, and that was from other YouTubers that I was following. People with mature skin like mine recommending how good this was for mature skin. So the one thing I did find was being able to get my hands on it and having to buy it from abroad and not being able to get it in the UK. But I don't know if that's changed recently or if I just didn't look very well, because looking last night I could see that lots of these products are all available on Cult Beauty, on Look Fantastic, and which other website? Space NK. So yes, there's quite a decent range of this in the UK as well. So we are able to get them. We might not be able to get their new releases straight away, and I know that one of the sites where you can get their new releases fairly quickly is Beautylish, if you're not ordering direct from Surratt. So if you're in the US or the UK, I know Beautylish and Surratt itself, obviously, they're the two go-tos for the instant releases. Obviously in the US it's probably going out directly to all the main retailers straight away, and we're not having to wait a few months for it to reach Space NK. But I know ordering from Beautylish, for instance, the delivery is not too bad, and it's also, well, it's not super fast, but it's not too bad at all, and the cost isn't too bad. So anyway, if you want to build a collection of Surratt, you can certainly do that now, and you can get most of their products, but you might have to just wait on the new releases. So Surratt described themselves as born in Japan and raised in New York. Now, born in Japan is a key reason why these products are probably so good for mature skin, because Japanese skincare and makeup is fantastic for mature skin, for everybody, but I've noticed particularly it's really good for mature skin. So I think that might be one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to this brand. Lots of their products are customizable, which is great, so you can just build your own collection of blushes, bronzers, highlights, eyeshadow palettes. They're all sold in single units. Well, not always, but very often, so you can pretty much build everything, and when you have your palettes you can just pop them in and out and they're interchangeable. And also they're refillable. If you're buying even things like eyeliners, they're refillable. Everything seems to be refillable, so that's a really good thing about the brand. So you might spend more on your initial purchase because the cases are rather fabulous, but then obviously the refillable options are then a bit cheaper and that much more friendly for the environment. So that's another thing I do love about Surratt. So they have two foundations, the Dew Drop foundation, and they have this one, which is their Surreal Skin Foundation Wand. First of all, look at this one. Look how beautiful this packaging is. So this is the refillable case. Now this is £60 when you buy it with the foundation in, and then the refill is £50, so you've just saved £10 when you buy the refill. And then you'll see here it's actually got a brush on the top, which is a bit mucky because I've recently used it. And this, you turn up and the product comes up through the top of the brush, and you can use the brush for the full application or just for dabbing it on, which is what I'll be doing. There's 20 shades in this, and I've got shade 4, which is actually my summer shade, so it is a little bit too dark on me because I was buying summer type shades to match tans, which is something I'm probably going to stop doing this year in all honesty and stick with my fair skin. It's just easier. But a lot of my makeup from last year tends to have that darker shade for that reason. So anyway, we'll make the most of this. This is shade 4, and this is for light with pink, which is not something I'd normally buy. I always go for light neutral, but this seems to be the better match for me last year when I was looking. The 3 shades below this are described as beige and yellows, and I just I thought they were too warm for me, which is why I've gone for this pink. And this is described as a primer and a foundation and a brush all in one. So it says you do not need a primer underneath. I do have a little bit of my Victoria Beckham primer on just because it's been so good for me lately in letting just about every foundation work on me. So hopefully it'll work today. So when I said you turn it, that was actually incorrect. You actually push here, and as you pump up, the product starts to come up into the brush here, and then you can put it directly on. You can see straight away how warm this is for my skin tone, but like we said, we're going to go with it. And this offers a medium to full coverage. Now can you see straight away, bearing in mind I'm not using a different foundation brush, but can you see straight away, if you just ignore the colour here, how smooth this is applying, and it is blurring pores straight away. I've hardly done a single thing to get this to go into my skin. It's just sort of gone on really, really quickly and easily. And using the brush on this, you don't get any brush marks. So I've blended this out quite a lot now with my 101 BK Beauty brush. This has taken down a lot of the coverage because I've really sheared this out doing this, and that's obviously because the colour is a bit dark, but shearing it out, I think the colour works actually quite well on me, even with my pale skin, so I'm quite happy with that, to be fair. I'll just put a dab on my cheeks just to get a little bit more coverage there. And keep in mind, I just pushed up once with the brush wand there. So you can see how it's buildable. It really has a most natural, beautiful finish, this foundation. It really does. I forgot how good it was, to be honest. So skin-like. And next I have their Dewdrop Concealer, which is also in the same sort of style packaging. Really, really beautiful. And similar to the one, this also has a sponge tip, so you just click it round at the bottom, and then the product comes out a bit like the Charlotte Tilbury wand, but not quite as messy. This comes in 10 shades, and this is shade 3, which is light peach. And this, along with the foundation, has lots of skincare incorporated into it, which is probably one of the reasons why it just sits so beautifully on the skin. This for me is a pretty much perfect shade for colour correction and concealing all in one. And my skin just absorbs it very, very well and very quickly. So I don't need to do an awful lot to get this to actually go into the skin. Not an awful lot of blending needed. In fact, the skincare in this is quite impressive. It actually has retinol, hyaluronic acid and vitamin C. So this really is a lot of skincare. So it's very, very good, which I do enjoy these days, especially underneath the eyes, because if I'm putting makeup on every day, which I am, I don't want anything that's going to dry out my skin or cause me problems. When I wear makeup like this, it never does. So my eyes actually enjoy it. Whereas if I didn't have it on, I'd be more likely to have dryness under the eyes. So obviously I do wear my skincare beneath. I've got my moisturiser, serum and SPF, but then a little bit extra under the eyes is not a bad thing for me, especially now when I have such thin skin here. It really could do with it, so this is really good for me. So here's how the concealer is sitting underneath my eyes, and if you look at my trouble area here, it's not emphasising the creases too badly. It's not the best concealer I used. It doesn't take away from my absolute top, which at the moment is either the Guerlain or Charlotte Tilbury's Beautiful Skin. This is close, but I can see it a little bit in the lines, but it is beautiful and it works very well with this foundation. So I'm just putting some lighter concealer to brighten in the areas I want to brighten and a bit of contour. I'm just going to blend that out, powder down and put my bronzer on, and then I'll be back with my next Surratt product to show you, which will be the blush and highlight. So I've now finished my base and I'm going to move on to blush. All the products I've used so far are ones I've bought myself, but I've been lucky enough to have some PR from Surratt, which I'm so grateful for, and that's what I'm going to be looking at next. So they sent me this, which is called the Nus Sublimes. I don't know if that's how you say it, but anyway, so it comes with this blush here and these two eyeshadows. But because of the shade of this shimmer here, I'm going to give this a go as a highlighter today, just to see if I can get that out of it. I must admit, when I first saw this, I thought it was bronze highlight and blush, so I thought it was a face palette. But this is actually one that's put together, so I obviously haven't selected it. But should I want to, it's got these holes here, and all you need to do is pop a pin in the back, and then it moves out, and you can basically set up your own. And to give you an example, this is the palette I bought for myself last year. So you buy this as it is on its own. I'm trying to get the camera to catch the colour here for you. Sort of purpley with glittery flecks in it, beautiful packaging. So yeah, I bought this compact myself last year, and then I chose these. Funnily enough, the eyeshadow shade I chose and the blush shade I chose are actually in the one they sent me, so I think they must be quite popular, and the shimmer is very similar, but I do have this green in here, which is obviously different. So you could have a bronze here and a highlight here, so you could have the three, or you could have all of it eyeshadows. You can really do whatever you like. So this is how I created my first. And while I'm showing you that, I just have to show you the green, because this is one of the most pretty green shades. It's a shimmery green. I really love that shade from them. Anyway, back to the Nus Sublimes, and this is £77. It's described as your 5-minute face, apply with fingers or brushes, and you can basically achieve a very natural, quick and easy everyday look on your eyes and with your cheeks, and hopefully with a highlighter. So using my Sonia G Classic Cheek Brush, which I find very useful for these slightly smaller palettes, sweep this blush on. You can see it's a really nice natural colour. It would probably complement any skin tone, I think. Very buildable. It's a very nice colour actually. I really like it on me. This powder is very finely milled, making it very easy to apply and blend, but also making it very flattering, especially on my mature skin. You can see that it's buildable, so you don't need to worry too much about going in too hard too much. I think this gives a little bit of a shine as well. Not in a bad way, not in an exaggerate texture way. Very pretty. I'll just use my Buffer Pro brush to just go around the edges and soften them a little. Now I've got my BK Beauty 112 brush. This brush is so useful, honestly, whenever you're going into slightly smaller things like this. If you want to use this now as a highlighter, or if you were going down here, you can just see it's the perfect fit. And I used this when I got the Natasha Denona face palette, for instance, when you need to get into those little bronzers. So highly recommend this. I find I use it all the time for more small palettes. I'm going to dip into this just to see if it'll hopefully work as a little bit of a highlight. And I think it does. I think it works very nicely actually. Quite a subtle one. It's not particularly alarming, but that's quite good really. And obviously the colours work together. Often using eyeshadow shimmers as highlight can be a bit of a disaster, but I think that's actually worked very well. I think that's, yeah, definitely works. Really like that. So I'm going to be using one of their different products on the eyes to finish, but I'm going to start using Truff here from this one, and I'm going to use this in my crease and under the eye. And I have my Sonia G T4 brush here. I'm using the T1 flat brush under the eye, and then bringing it up here to join the top. Now I would normally use a lighter eyeshadow to just blend the edge of this because it's quite a deep shade on me, but I'm trying to stick to what I'm using here to see if this palette can be used on its own really for this purpose. So I'm just using a clean brush and just puffing out the edges to soften it, and to be fair, it's softening up quite nicely. So I have a base now using the Truff shade, It does provide a nice base. Certainly would work as an everyday. And now you could go in with the shimmer shade across the whole of the eyelid, and that's your look done for the day. But I want to try something else today. So Surratt have sent me 2 of their Souffle eyeshadows. Now when these first launched a few months ago, I really was excited to try them because they look so different in the texture, and I know everyone I've seen use them has said they've really enjoyed them, so I can't wait to see what these will look like on my eyes. Now I think these really should be probably more of a one and done, so they should really take up at least most of the eyelid. So I don't want to mix these up particularly, so I'd like you to see what the 2 of them look like. So I think I'll do one on each eye to show you. So I'm going to start with this one, which is more of a plum shade. And here's how it looks. It's called Pleur Mauve. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. It's a sheer purple with green shimmers. Now what's so unique about this is the texture. If you can see, it's literally as if you've set jelly in. Even when you swipe it, the centre doesn't change. It's very, very different texture. I'll just show you how this looks on the back of my hand now I've done that. That's with not a lot on my finger, so it's not a very strong shade. I'm going to see if that can be built up. So now with a bit more on my finger, and the answer is yes, it builds up quite a lot. So there we are. That's a really pretty shade, isn't it? And this is described as buildable, fast drying and non-creasing, and I will do a check-in at the end of the day with everything I'm wearing today so we can see if that's true and whether it has caused any creasing up here. So it says to apply this with your fingertip, so you fill, I think, quite a lot if you want to really get the pigment, so go around quite a bit in it, and it says to pat it on. So I'm going to start on the outer edge here. Oh, that is really nice, and it definitely has a lovely cooling effect when you apply it. That is really pretty. Definitely patting it on works. I don't even want to try a different method because it works very nicely. Now, this is quite a dark shade on me, so I'm not going to completely fill my eyelid. I think I will go in with that light shimmer from the palette we started with. I'm going to take this 2/3 of the eyelid, I think. Oh, I really like that, that's so pretty. Not BK, Sonia GT4 brush. I'm just going around the edges, but I don't actually think it needs it. I think it's just blended in with my finger. I'm going to add a little bit more in the outer V area. I'm going to use the brush to blend this. Yeah, that blends into the powder, so it works very nicely with the powder, even though it's a slightly wet feel. It's not a very wet feel, it's not like your standard cream at all. It's quite a strange one to describe, really. It's like a very slightly wet feel on the finger, but it already feels like it's drying down. That is really, really nice. It blended in so easily with the powder. I love the finish on that. And this is a colour I would not have gone for, but you can see the green flecks in it. I really like it. I'm going to use my Merit No. 2 brush, which is actually a cream shadow brush. I'm going with the thinner end of this. And I'm just going to put this underneath here, just beneath the waterline, on top of the brown that I put earlier, just to make it all match up. Really pretty. And these pots come with a cap. I think it's very important to keep the cap on and to also keep the lid very tightly secured because these could dry out otherwise. And these actually cost £39, so they're very expensive for single eyeshadows, so you really want to treasure these if you buy them. So this one here is Rose Reeve, and this is a sheer dusty pink with radiant pink shimmer. So this is all pink, so it will be quite different on my eye, but anyway, let's go for it so we can just see what it looks like. So I'll swatch it on the back of my hand first to show you. Here's how it's looking on the back of my hand. And now I'm going to pat it on like I did with the first one. Very nice. And I'm going to go in with the T4 brush now to just tidy this one up a bit. Bring it into the outer V like I did with the purple. Now this pink is not sitting on the eye anything like as well as the purple did for me. You can see the purple is very flattering on my skin. It's not particularly emphasising my lines and it's sitting very nicely. But the pink is a little bit less even no matter how much I try to brush it out, and it definitely shows up texture in a way that I don't really like. It seems a bit strange when they're actually the same formula. And using the Merit No. 2 brush again, which I've cleaned off, I'm going to put the pink under the eye again to match it. Now I can't try this one today, but I did actually buy with my own money just this week really to add to this collection the green. So this is the Baton Vert, or Vert, not sure how to pronounce this. And this is how this one swatches on my hand here alongside the pink. This is described as a sheer seaweed green with gold shimmer. This one reminds me more of the purple. I'm keeping these on my hands to test out whether they dry down. But you can see if you look at the purple and the green together, the finish on these is very similar. So maybe they would sit better on my eyes, the purple and the green, more than the pink, although it has blended up better. So we'll see how it looks when it finishes, because I'm starting to think it looks better now. So now using my BK Beauty 207, I'm going to go into this shimmer shade here. Now this is called either Zibline or Zibeline. I don't know how you pronounce it. Basically it's a shimmering taupe. And I'm going to put this in the inner corner and bring it up to meet the purple. I'm going to do the same on the other side with the pink. This shade is not a particularly brightening shade for me. I would probably like it to be a bit lighter. I think it'll work quite well. Yeah, can you see now using this under the brow? It's not really giving me a brightening effect because of the taupe. It does look a bit lighter in the pan than it actually looks on the eye. So they sent me two different eyeliners, so I'm actually going to use them both so we can look at both of them. And this one is a liquid pen liner. First of all, you can see the beautiful packaging, which comes with every single one of these products. They all seem to match. And here is how the nib looks on this. And this one, I've never come across anything like it before. It's actually like a cartridge pen. If any of you use these ink pens, you actually snap the cartridge onto the end as you would with a cartridge pen. So, and when I put this in, you literally see the colour fill the nib instantly, so that's how it's refillable. I thought that was quite cool. I'm not going to go for a big wing. I want to use the other liner to pretty much come underneath and come up into a more of a smoky soft wing. I'm just going to use this to tight line along the eyelashes. Just see how easy it is to do that. I'm going to have to use my other mirror for this, otherwise I'm going to get in a mess. So it has a very fine nib, which does make it very easy to get in close to the lashes. I'm just using my T1 brush now to soften the edge slightly of the line I've made with the pen. So that was very easy to do. It gives that much more impactful finish to the eye, doesn't it, for a sort of evening look, I think. So this shade is an inky black. I'm putting it on my hand really so I can test the dry down, but on my eyes it feels like it dries down pretty quickly, so I've just about got time to work to neaten it up, and then it feels very dry. So I'll see on my hand at the end of this how it's setting down, as well as these eyeshadows. And it costs £35, and if you want to buy one of the cartridges to refill it, it's just £16, so that's not bad. So they also sent me this Smokey eyeliner, and this is in a brown shade, so you twist up. It's got quite a thin nib. If you turn the bottom, it's got a smudger on the end. It's not brown, the one they've sent me, is it? This is the mauve. This is £31 and it comes in 7 shades. Here is the shade here. This is this deep mauve shade. So I'm going to line a little bit underneath the eye with this. I'm not going to go mad because the eyeshadow I used has already given me quite a bit of darkness under the eye. And I'm going to just take it up a little bit to start a little wing. Then you can use this smudge tip to bring the wing up. Quite a firm one. If you prefer a softer one, then maybe use a brush, but it worked very, very easily. That's my first time ever using that. Extremely easy. Definitely makes me interested to try other colours in this, because that's really nice actually. It's just the right sort of size to have precision, but not too fine, so it actually applies the right amount. Yeah, I really like that liner, really easy to use, and I really like the tip. I very rarely use these tips provided I go to my brushes, but the tip is really good, just bringing out a soft wing. Love this, really love that. Be very careful if you're using this to make sure you bring it back down, because this lid goes right down on top of it and will squish it. So I've gone off camera and put some mascara on, and that is the finished look with both my eyes. So here we have purple side and pink. And I think it's worth really looking at this pink, where I said it wasn't looking so good on my texture and it was looking a little bit sort of clumpy almost. But it's really just melted into my skin now and it looks fine. So I'm not put off that at all. This one just didn't seem to do that. This seemed to just go on my eyes perfectly instantly, whereas the pink wasn't as perfect. But now I'd say they both look exactly the same and they both look really good. Even though I still prefer the purple. I'm just not a fan of light pinks on my eyelids much. I don't think it suits me. So lastly, I've got two lipsticks. So this is their Lipslique, I think it's called, or Sleek. And this is £28. This comes in 12 different shades and it's described as a lipstick that's very light. It's supposed to be more like a sophisticated lip balm, so it's lighter than a lipstick, not as glossy and shiny as a lip gloss. It's somewhere in between, so we'll see. I've got two colours. I'll swatch them both on the back of my hand and then I'll apply one. Now this one is twist up, but you can't twist back down, so you need to be very careful not to twist up more than you need. And my first one here is called Hevyn, H-E-V-Y-N is how that's spelt. And here it is, swatched on my hand. Very nice. Excuse the mess of my hand, but I want to do this test at the end. And the other shade I have is Rubis, which is a red. And here is Rubis on the back of my hand. So you can see this is like a bluey red. I think I'll put Hevyn on. I might swipe it off and put the other on. I'm going to see how I feel about my lips when I've done it, but this is quite hydrating, so I might get away with it. So there's Hevyn. Very good everyday shade, like I said. Not really for an evening look, I don't think, because it doesn't make a huge amount of impact. Really comfortable. It's like a very thick lip gloss. It feels almost like a lip mask because it is quite thick, but a really comfortable moisturising thickness, and it gives a nice shine. So I think going by the thickness, it will probably last. That sort of moisture and hydration will probably last quite some time. It's not one of these ones that disappears in seconds, which I really like. It's a very, very nice formula, really comfortable. So I've wiped off Hevyn and I'm going to go in with Rubis, which is this red. So that's how the Rubis red sits on me. I think it looks more of a deep pink on my lips actually, but I think it works quite well, especially with the pink, but it also works well with the purple. If you look at my face cut in half, this look here, and then with the pink, it definitely goes better with the pink. I do like both. So I'm now here 8 hours later and I have managed to completely not record me telling you my final thoughts and showing you the swatches on the back of my hand with how they lasted. So I'm here now 8 hours later. I've reapplied the lipstick, so you're seeing my final look, but 8 hours later. I'm gutted about that, but please take my word for it when I tell you, when it came to the swatches on the back of my hand, sorry about the noises in the background there, the eyeshadows did not budge at all, and neither did the black liquid liner, but the mauve liner did pretty much swatch off. It just spread out. It was very creamy. It wasn't drying down and staying, so I was concerned that it wouldn't last and I wouldn't get much more than a few hours out of it on my eyes. So I've since gone off camera and I've had a busy day. I've eaten a few meals. I've been outdoors, it's been quite cold. My eyes were actually watering for some time while I was out earlier. So this is how my makeup looks under all of those conditions today. So this is the 8-hour check-in for you. And I've looked in a magnification mirror foundation wise, I've got the tiniest bit of caking just around the nose there, but only visible under a 10 times magnification mirror. So this foundation and concealer has not creased, has not caked, has not worn off. It's all lasted. Now I will tell you, I put setting spray on, and that's something I do every single day, so I don't really feel it's fair for me to test all of these products without doing that, because that's how I always apply my makeup. I use the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. So I did have that on, and that definitely locks it in. But I can put that on and find foundations have still worn around the nose and chin area. So this foundation and concealer has worked very well. Obviously the setting powders I use are helping, but everything generally has stayed in, and I think I could do with some more setting powder here to take away a little bit of the shine where it has started, my grease areas have started to bring shine through, and maybe the lines here are starting to become a little bit more obvious. You can just see the foundation there. It's moved into those lines, but that's something so easily fixed. You just basically do this and just dab on a bit of powder and you can fix the whole thing. Something which I can very quickly demonstrate to you now. There we are, a little dab of powder and all the shininess is just completely gone. That's something I always think is worth noting, because some people, you might want your makeup to look perfect in the morning, and then you might want to go straight out somewhere in the evening without having to really do your makeup again. So if you've got your powder in your handbag and a lipstick, that's all you'd need to refresh this look, because it's pretty much stayed exactly as it was. I mean, the eyeliner is slightly smudged underneath here, but then my eyes were really watering when I was out. And this eyeliner, considering it didn't stay on my hand, it did just completely go when I rubbed it. The cream eyeliner now, not the black eyeliner. It stayed. I mean, this wing I put in place here is not gone, even whilst I've been out in the cooler weather with my eyes watering. So everything has stayed. And if you look at the eyeshadow, there is no creasing at all. It dried down. It really doesn't budge. It dries down fast and it really does not budge. It is very, very good. It's got excellent longevity, exactly the way they promised. You can see the same here. Very, very happy with those. I particularly love that, as I said earlier. I'm really looking forward to trying out the green one. But on the whole, the lipstick lasted me, I'd say about 2-3 hours actually. It did really last quite a long time. But this colour is a little bit too much for me, and when it wears off it does look a bit obvious, which is one of the reasons I don't like such bold shades on me. So you would need to keep touching this up and improving it, I think. But it does have longevity, it's just not my sort of shade. So the blush has lasted. I can still see the highlighter where I placed it. The foundation and concealer has lasted. The eyeshadow has lasted. The black liner has not budged one bit. And the cream liner has lasted. So fantastic. Really, really, really happy with this. This is something I would happily, this whole set, I would happily take away, say on a holiday, do my makeup in the morning and feel like I would have to do nothing to feel like I look pretty much the same all day, which is brilliant. So Surratt for me is an absolute winner. They have incredible formulas. Every single formula in every single product I use today for me is spot on. They work well together. They're just perfect for my mature skin. I love the way they work. They're very user-friendly. Just, I can't say a bad word about them. I really can't. So if you haven't checked out Surratt Beauty, I highly, highly recommend that you do, because they are a fantastic makeup brand, and a brand that's not talked about quite as much as some of the other brands. So I really, really think they're worth checking out. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you found it helpful, please do like and subscribe below. That really does help my channel, and I would love to see all of you for my next video. Take care everybody. Bye.